Hello and welcome to this week's Navigating the Water, where we're joined again by our host, the CEO and founder of River VC, the fabulous Stephanie Mckinney. Stephanie, welcome.
Hello, welcome to you as well, Kim. Thank you for joining us again. I really appreciate it. You've been a longtime viewer and co-host of Navigating the Waters, so thank you, Kim. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm learning so much, and it's really helping to cement my thinking. And I was really reflecting as we've chatted before the show on last week's session, and Randy gave some great advice, which was, we really should be out there boring everybody we meet with our idea, telling everybody that we come into contact with. And I have reflected on that and was like, I'm not doing that. So why is that? Why is it that I'm not doing that? And it was a really valuable lesson, because what came up for me was I wasn't fully confident with everything that was in my data room, that was in my pitch deck. And there was an element as well, if I'm honest, of being uncertain a little bit myself on what if I put the idea out there and nobody likes it? Whereas if I just keep it to myself, I can still convince myself it's a great idea, and not have to face any harsh no's. So I wondered if you could share any advice on, like, how do we get past those things?
Yeah, I think you touched upon it, was confidence. It's knowing what you know, knowing what you don't know in your pitch deck, in your company, knowing the ins and outs of it, but also building that confidence that what you're building is going to revolutionize your field. It's going to make people's lives easier. It definitely will have its flaws. So know the flaws, know what's going on, know the ins and outs, but ask yourself, are you ready to present it? Why aren't you able to talk to people in the elevator and say, hey, do you want this app that can help you talk about your feelings in an AI? Let me talk about it for these 3 minutes that we're in the elevator. So building the confidence and knowing what's going on in your company is going to help you be able to pitch to anybody anytime.
I love that. It's so true, isn't it? And I guess doing it more often makes you more confident with it. So I've been, in the last week, I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone and I've shared it with people. And actually, it wasn't as scary as I thought. And the feedback's been quite positive. People have liked the idea, and the feedback they've given me has been really constructive as to what I maybe need to just tweak slightly, or where there are things that I think are really clear, but that's because it's my idea and I know it. And there's that. I had a tutor who once said to me, beware rabbits out of hats. You kind of bring this conclusion, but if you've not put the breadcrumbs down, people don't understand how you've got there. So there was a real moment for me on gaining that great, invaluable insight, where people had to ask me some questions, and I realized that the terminology I was using had become a little bit jargonated because I was so used to it. A little bit like when we use 3-letter acronyms for things, and we think everybody knows what we're talking about, but we're not. So is there any advice you can give us on kind of how we make sure that we've really got clarity on our idea, on what it is that we're putting across to people?
The answer is in the problem. It's going out there and talking to these people, going out there and talking to people that have no idea who you are, what you do, and why you do it. So they can say, hey, I don't know what MRR is. What is that? What are you talking about? And being able to break it down to its core fundamental values of your company, and being able to explain it that it makes sense. Like, I'm creating this app, let's use Uber. I'm creating this app where you can get a ride from another person and go from point A to point B. And then they're going to follow up with more questions like, why wouldn't you just use a taxi? Why can't you do that? So being able to break it down to its core, but also knowing the company, so you can say, okay, well, these are why, this is how that program works. Like, dive into each specific example of the company. So being able to go out there and pitch is how you're going to keep getting this resolve of confidence that you keep building up. And then that would help you go out and further explain your company to other people.
I love that. And it's right. One of my biggest ones was actually starting sharing it with family, because I was, have I not shared it with them? So I started there, and actually that's really helped me, because it was an area that I was really struggling to kind of get out and go and talk to them. But actually they gave me great advice, because they're looking at it from a different point of view. So they're able to kind of shine a light on those areas that you think are clear that they don't think are clear, or ask you questions that perhaps you've not thought of for yourself. And it's a friendlier space, isn't it? You know, you're not asking them for any money, just asking them for their feedback and opinion.
Exactly. And being able to showcase it to your family is crucial. If you're a founder and you're out there doing what you need to do, but you come home and no one has any idea what you're doing, then why are you doing it? You need
Yeah,
to be able to say, "This is what I'm doing. I'm so excited." Even though they may not be an investor or something, they could be your drive, your passion. Like going out to your family and telling them what you do is probably step one that a lot of people just jump right over.
that's so true. And we do, don't we? It's like, I'd much rather go out and tell all these people I've never met before in my life
Mhm.
than I would people that I care about and that care about me, and that I trust would be giving me feedback with the best intentions, you know.
Yeah, and you don't wanna look like a fool because the founder may have, like, doubts, like, "This is not gonna work, this is gonna fail, gonna look like an idiot." But then once you go out there and you build that armor by telling your family, like, "This is what I'm doing, what do you guys think?" and getting that honest feedback and taking that criticism, that would help you build stronger bones, stronger muscles to be able to go out there to the bigger people, to the true investors, and find out why your company isn't doing or what you need to do to succeed.
I love that. Are there any other questions that we should be asking ourselves as people getting ready to go and seek investment that, you know, we really should know the answer to, that can help us kind of challenge ourselves to get the answers?
Um, Definitely the courage that we talked about, finding out why you're doing it
Yeah,
and building on your team, figure out if their values line up with you. Um, and then another question I would ask yourself is, who do you already know? Start with your already established relationships. We talked about relationships a while, probably throughout the whole course of navigating the waters, but start with who you know, start with how they can help. Your family is obviously the first one, and then go from there. Go from people that you're in a organization with, go from people that you're in the same building with. And I say, hey, I have something. Would you mind if I, take 10 minutes out of your day and run it by you? And then maybe they know someone who would want to invest. Maybe they would want to invest. So going through your relationships is a good part. So figure out who you know and build off of that rather than just jumping into this cold email, figuring out how you can get to point A to point B with the least amount but the strongest steps.
I love that. That's so true. And you can find those relationships in places you didn't expect, can't you? I mean, I was talking to my accountant about kind of the R&D element of kind of what I do, and he was asking loads of questions about kind of what it is we're trying to do. And off the back of it was like, well, I think I've got 3 people that would love to meet you because it's right in, it's right in their wheelhouse. And I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. But I hadn't gone into that conversation thinking that. I'd gone into it thinking we're going to go through the end of year tax returns and make sure, that the financials were where they were supposed to be. So you're right, it is looking in those, those conversations that you've already got, that network you've already built. And you've made it so clear to us throughout that actually it's about building relationships, and that starts with the relationships we've already got, doesn't it? It's saying, what relationships have I already got that will be able to help, because people do want to help naturally, don't they, as human beings?
Exactly. So I would say the questions to ask yourself before is, am I ready? Building that courage, building that foundation, talk to your family and friends, and then find out who else you know. And then go local. A lot of times, if you're in a major city or you're close to a major city, they have resources that you can come across. Like I just found out there's a incubator right across the street in the neighboring city that I could go and I can talk to. So being able to branch out from your relationships, but stay close because a lot of times, this past 20 years, everyone's really trying to grow locally, really trying to make sure that our community is enriched and enhancing in itself. So go find out across the pond. You don't need to go to across the pond to get advice and investing. Go right across the street. Figure out who your neighbors are. I'm in a building with uh, accounting, financing and accounting. And I asked them, I was like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, that's a great idea. Let's take a whole day and go over it. So just go to your inner streets and then branch off of there.
I love that. That's such invaluable advice, because we don't very often, it really is just on our doorstep, isn't it? It's like we just like open up and you kind of go, oh, like, you're right out, you're right next door, or you're right in the building, or you're right across the street. And I think asking those communities and going to kind of local networking events. And one of the things I find here, which I think is that here is the same when I've talked to friends in America, is actually, that community of founders want to help each other, and they've usually got investors that they also want to help, and they love to do that connecting, even if it's just you'll get on great and have a coffee, and what's the harm? You'll meet a lovely person and have a great conversation, but there might just be an opportunity to collaborate. You might be able to give them some advice, or they might be able to give you some advice that's going to be able to move you both forward. And I think it's looking at it, isn't it, and saying, well, how might I help them, and what help can I ask from them? Because I think that's one of the other challenges, is be specific of what it is you'd like. If actually what you'd like is some people that are going to be a friendly critic for you, that are going to look it over and give you that kind of devil's advocate critique, but do it in a friendly manner to help you move forward, then letting people know that makes it easier for them to see who in their network they can actually do the introductions to you for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And building off of that, we talked about keeping the relationship, not just one-sided, asking how you can help them, how you can leverage your network, how you can leverage your area of expertise to help them as well. Because, like you said, it's our human nature to help other people. So don't just go there and say, I need this, I need that, I need you to connect me with that person. Say, what can I do for you? And then let the relationship bloom. Because I think that is more authentic, is asking other people how you can genuinely help them.
Absolutely. I think that's invaluable, because I think, I always start with what's going on in your world right now, what's important to you. What is it you're really looking for? What would help you if you could have more of this, whatever? What would that whatever be? And there, then I can actually go into my library of my contacts and go, okay, so who do I know that can do that for them? And then actually, like, what is it that they're looking for that you might be able to help them with? So whenever I do introductions, I try and put the two sides to it, which is, I think you'll get on because you're looking at this, and this person can do that, but they're also looking for X, Y, and Z, which is what you do. So there's a chance of a collaboration. There's also a chance that there won't be, but at least you'll have a good conversation, and that's how it grows, isn't it? And it's amazing how small that world is. I did an introduction the other week, and whilst I was doing the research to do, to put in the nice bits around each person, I identified that actually they had a person in common. Now these people were all in America. I was like, turns out you didn't need the woman from London to actually connect you, because you are actually already connected through here. But I'm glad that I was given the opportunity to do so. And sometimes it's that reminder, isn't it, that actually we're not always as close to what's going on in our world as we thought we were.
Exactly. Yep. I love that. We're not always as, self-centered. We definitely want to help other people, and being able to get that as a relationship grower, and being able to talk to them about your company is what's going to help you get ready for investment. I mean, they may not be the person that invests, just like your family. They may be the connector, or the person that you have a soundboard off of, like, hey, I just want to run this by, does this make sense, how else can I rephrase this? So being able to have those other people locally, as well as, Zoom has connected us through everything during COVID. I really want to do a pre and post COVID, what has happened in the business world and the investing world. But before COVID, you had to know somebody, and now you can just try to get on their calendar and hope they show up, and then look at, and it's amazing. And they've created so much ways for us to connect. So the other thing I would say is go out there and see who you can talk to. Sometimes cold emails are a good way to grow your network. I mean, they are scary, and a lot of people shy away from them, but it may work for you. It may not be a cold email. Maybe it's like, hey, how can I help you? This is what I do, and let me know if there's anything else I can help with. If not, I hope you have a great day. I hope you and your family are well.
Yeah, I love it. And I think, on those, the one way I get past that kind of like, oh, I don't want to annoy everybody by sending them an email, is try and make sure that I add something in there that's going to be of value to them. So, I came across this article which is really pertinent to what's going on right now, and I know that you've got a team, and this is all about kind of the challenges that teams are facing in the new world of hybrid working. I hoped it would be helpful, so at least you feel like, well, if nothing else, I added some value. they got something good out of that interaction, not just, well, who is this woman and why she mailed me?
Exactly. And you can tell when the email is generic and they're just like filling in your name, because it's not authentic. It's not bringing any value to the relationship. One time I got an email and you could tell it was fill in the blank, and they were like, I value what you have on your website. And I was like, please tell me specifically what you value on my website, because I would love to, see that and see how other people see it. And they were like, would you mind setting up an email or an account with us? And I was like, forget it. Forget it. That was a generic bounce around email.
And that damages the relationship, doesn't it? I see them where when people say, I really value you, and then they've put the wrong person's name in there, or they've left the previous person's website address in. I was like, I don't feel valued. And therefore I'm not going to engage in the next part of this conversation. Whereas, just taking that time, if you are going to reach out to people that you don't know, one of the things that, I always recommend to people is go and spend some time learning about them. Really look them up on LinkedIn, look at their articles, engage beforehand, so that, they actually, and when you are then asking to connect with them, specifically call out something that you saw of theirs that you genuinely appreciated, that you genuinely were interested in or saw value, because it's lovely when that happens. It happened to me yesterday where I went to this one meeting, and all of a sudden the girl went, I hope you don't mind, but I kind of went looking through you and on social media and what have you, and I found this quote of yours that I love, and I've just included that in there. Is that okay? And I was like, mind, you've just made my year. The fact that actually you went and looked, and on top of that you found something that you found valuable, and then you've used it somewhere, is such a great gift. And I was hugely appreciative, and I felt really valued, and I thought, what a lovely thing to have done. So I think it's putting in that effort first, isn't it, to say, this is going to, I'm trying to build a relationship with this person, and they're not just a name I can burn through. I'm just going to stick out that cold email and hope enough mud sticks on the walls.
Yeah, exactly. It's turning that cold email into a lukewarm email by doing your due diligence, by making sure, like that lady did, making sure you know who you're talking to, because a lot of times if someone's not going to jump into like a freezing cold pool, they're going to ease themselves into it. So do the legwork, do the understanding of the other person, and then ask them what you can do for them, rather than that immediate, this is what I need you to connect me to this person instead.
Fantastic. So I love that. So to get ready, for that branching out, for that getting out there to start talking to investors, it's asking ourselves those questions first. Why am I not? And seeing what comes up for us, like what's our answer, what's our response, and then going and fixing those parts. But then when we're thinking about building that network, it's starting with who we know. It's going out and looking around what's available locally, who else can I connect with, where else are we going, and then really putting the effort in at the start of the relationship. So don't wait until they've responded to your cold email to have put the effort in to say, the reason I'm contacting you is because I can see this is what you're interested in, and this is how I think what I'm interested in aligns. So it feels like there's at least a chance for a good conversation that benefits us both.
Exactly. Yep. And then I would say the next one would be try to apply to a couple different syndicates or incubators, and usually they have an application right off the bat. And if you say, they're like, oh, you need a 2-year plan, you're like, oh, I don't have that. That's something I need to work on, I need to do. So going out there and trying to apply yourself to all these, make sure you do your due diligence first. Don't just throw your company into a website, but see what they are asking for. Because a lot of the times they're going to have it right off the bat. They're going to, hey, we're going to need a business plan. We're going to need a business model. We're going to need your projections, your 2-year history, and say, okay, this is what I need to get ready to be in an invested state.
Amazing. That's such great advice, as always. And it's really about having that structure, isn't it? So going out there, doing our research, doing a bit of test and learn, and seeking that advice, asking people, like, what advice could they give you in this situation, or what did they do when they went through investment? I think that's one of the other things, isn't it? Is going and finding people who have already successfully achieved what it is that you're trying to achieve, and then learn from them.
Yeah, exactly. First, start with yourself. Figure out if you're ready, why you're doing it, what's going to happen. Go to your family, go to your friends, go locally, and then go to the warmer introductions. Look at places online that have applications that you could start filling out. You don't have to apply, but you can say, this is what they are looking for, this is what we need to build. And then, like you said, figuring out the other people, figuring out the success that they've done, try to get like an introduction. Hey, I would love 20 minutes of your time just to ask some questions, and then be prepared to ask those questions, not just like groveling at them, saying, hey, this is what I wanted to know. How can I help you? And then if you could answer these questions, I would be so grateful. So I think it takes a lot for the company to get ready, but these are some things that you can get ready for to receive investment, to start changing your mindset from building the product to now selling the product to investors.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's, as always, been packed with insight and actionable insight, which is why I love being part of this. And I love the idea of the pre and post COVID one. We should do that perhaps next week or something, and not just in the investing world, but in the world in general, isn't it? How's the world of work changing? So perhaps we could delve into that next week.
That would be perfect. I would love to. But thank you for all the listeners, and I hope that you liked what you heard. And if you have any questions, please follow up. We also come out with a blog. It'll be on my website. It'll be on my LinkedIn. So now you can take those actionable steps. They'll be written, categorized, easy to read. So if you have any questions or you want to be on Navigating the Waters, please let Kim or I know. We would love to host you. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Thanks so much. Take care.
You